not about spaceships. It's not about spaceships. It's not about spaceships.
Hey everyone, I'm Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net, and this is my buddy Rob drinking coffee.
How you doing?
Hey, how are you doing today, man?
Good, actually. I'm doing well. I slept. So
You
I had a
slept.
good sleep. I know.
I-
I didn't work this weekend, right? No podcast.
Nice. I got up and I was like, somebody tweeted me, I don't remember who now, and they're like, hey, what's going on at the Kenobi set? What's going on down there? And I was just like, you know what? I gotta go find out. So ran down there, got the kids, put them in the
Hey.
car. It's like, come on, scoopers, let's go. Now,
How cool is that, though? Like, just to preface, like when you
Yeah.
were a kid, could you imagine? Like, it was exciting to go outside. You were saying you had an apartment complex where everyone had their Star Wars toys.
Yeah.
Which I can confirm because my mom and I used to go garage sale hunting, and we'd go to these apartment complexes, and it'd always be like a group of kids with these Star Wars toys, and then they would pull them out. Yeah, these are the ones for sale. They'd still be playing with them.
Yeah.
Hilarious. But wouldn't it be cool to say, hey, how'd you like to go watch them make some Star Wars? What? Like,
Yeah.
You know, get in the car, go watch some Star Wars being made. I mean, it would have blown my mind, right?
Yeah. The best day ever was when we went down there. Taika Waititi was directing, and we could just see everything. And it was that one scene where the first one of the shots they were shooting was when like Mando comes out of a doorway, and then like he takes out two stormtroopers, like kind of.
Yep.
Yeah, and like it was in the trailers and stuff, and like so we saw them filming that, and the big standoff with all the Death Troopers at the end with Gideon, and we saw them film that, and my son just freaked out when he saw Death Troopers out there on that day. But not to build up what we got today too much, because what we got today is simply a photo for us to kind of dig into with the chat especially. And I'll try to keep the Patreon people in mind too, because they can't see the photo in the when they're like listening to this as a podcast. So with that in mind, here it is. Just this is one of the things that I caught today, and I mean, it's the same kind of stuff we've been seeing like in the Mandalorian, and it's the same, basic Star Wars architecture that you would imagine. I can't tell if that's like a sign. It almost looks like it says Star Wars to me.
I was gonna say it looks like it says Star Wars,
doesn't it? Almost like
yeah.
It almost looks like the Star Wars logo on there. But I'm pretty sure because over at the other studio, so like to like kind of like make it make sense, at the Manhattan studios there is like the volume, right? And that's where they're filming all the inside stuff and all that kind of jazz. Then they have their exterior location. This is from the exterior location. And knowing a couple people who are working on Kenobi are there, I'm pretty sure that they're still filming Kenobi. And so this is likely from Kenobi. My estimation, and all of this is an estimation because this could be from The Mandalorian season 3. That's like the other thing that I don't want to overstate anything, because there's so many productions going on all at the same time. It makes it really difficult to tell what's what, and to promise. I promised you this is from Obi-Wan. I promise you this is from Mandalorian season 3, but I'm fairly certain this is for one of the final Kenobi builds, if that makes sense.
You broke your promises, Jason. Lying Jason Ward.
Lying Jason Ward. Yeah. So it's so right here though. I mean, like I said, this kind of like weird like the signage thing on here on the top. I'm curious if, because that doesn't look like Tatooine. And once again, this could be like primered in a weird way. So for all I know, I might see it next week and it's going to be, tan or whatever the
Right,
Tatooine
like
sets are.
taupe.
Yeah, you're the artist. I should have deferred to you.
It's very soothing.
Taupe-Tuine, as they call it.
Hold on, I gotta write that down. That's too good.
Taupe-Tuine, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and for the record too, it's a strangely rainy July day here in Southern California. In the middle of the night, it started pouring torrential rain for about an hour, and then on the way over, I was like, "Hey, a car wash," because I'm not washing that shit. And and then we're driving over, and then it started to rain again. So it's a bit overcast. So this probably comes out a bit darker than it would otherwise, like on a sunny California day.
Can't you see? It's overcast.
Right? Yeah, it's overcast, and they're showing Star Wars in a Star Wars set. There's the logo right there. You can't deny it. But yeah, I mean,
it's clearly not a Star Trek set.
No. Rick Jones says Kenobi on another planet confirmed. Yeah. Not like that's what I don't want to do is go out and throw that out there like that's confirmed. But that does look unlike anything from Tatooine in certain ways. And it doesn't remind me of the earlier Tatooine stuff that was in progress. Like when they were doing the Tatooine street stuff, like I could clearly see that like the sides of the Mos Eisley style looking buildings. Not saying it's Mos Eisley, but you know what I mean. The architecture is kind of the same. And right here, this one, the primer looks a little bit different to me. And so, but I have a feeling that's either a very weird, ugly sign, or that they're going to be like gluing the wires onto that. Like it's gonna have like wires and stuff like put on top of it. Like that might be like the etching to add the set dressing on later after the paint dries.
It's where the logo's gonna fit when it starts.
The Star Wars
gonna...
logo. Star Wars.
Yeah. And that hole, that's where the credits go through. That's actually how they film. People don't know that, Jason. That's actually how they do it. And Rinsler covered it.
Yeah, most of the set area isn't being used right now. Like to really give people like perspective, like you could go back on MakingStarWars.net and see like all the old set photos from season 1, and then knowing what you know from season 1 and looking at it, like it kind of gives you a sense of scale. But that said, it's about the size of a little league baseball field. It's not a huge exterior place, you know. It's not Pinewood at all. It's like they're shooting a western in the 60s, you know. It's Gunsmoke or something. It's not a lot. And all of these pieces are like usually like modular. A lot of people have asked me like about the Ahsoka stuff, and like there's a bunch of you know, from the Ahsoka episode of Mando season 2 where you see those black trees out there, like all those like burnt, like crispy trees is what I like to call them. Those are all still out there, but they're all like put like behind stuff. And does it mean that they're coming back or being reused? I don't necessarily believe that, just because people ask. I don't think it means that for sure. But that stuff is still out there. And like the dome from one of the Tatooine domes from Mando season 2 is still out there. So it's hard to say like if some of the stuff is just like, oh, this is hard to get our hands on. Like let's just not toss it and let's keep it in case we need it kind of stuff. Or it might work for this thing coming down the road. You know, we might be able to paint those purple and use them as Felucia down the road or something weird like that. It's hard to say. So, Josiah asked, "Is that rumor about Jar Jar showing up on Obi-Wan still possible?" I remember that rumor from a couple of years ago. Yeah, there was a rumor that he was going to be in the Obi-Wan Kenobi film, and there was like stuff about him like looking older and like having a beard, like this Gungan beard grown out and stuff like that. But it's hard to say because Ahmed Best has denied any involvement, which is like, it's kind of he's been involved with Star Wars enough that I would think he wouldn't deny involvement. Like they kind of know what the procedures are, and so him denying involvement would be kind of strange if he was in it, because that's not usually how they do things. But at the same time, Kenobi was a film, and then it was changed, and then when it was about to go into production, they stopped it again, and then they went back to do more rewrites. So I have no idea at this point. Like that's what sucks, is anything that I think I know, I don't know if I know, which is kind of frustrating. I'll probably, after the show airs, I'll probably have some cool stuff I could talk about what was going to be in it, what isn't, or what, you know what I mean, or like what were the things that I wasn't supposed to talk about, that because they're supposed to be sensitive, and then ended up not being in it at all. So, but like the other thing is, I've had people tell me like Liam Neeson is in it, and Liam Neeson's kind of made jokes that he's not in it too, and I haven't had the people I've had tell me about it and the way I've heard it, it hasn't been enough where I've been like, I'm gonna run and put up an update on the site. You know what I mean? It hasn't been like that level of intensity where like the person's like, I know. They're it's like I'm told kind of stuff. So rumors.
He should have took a dig at Williamsburg. I'm not like the soundtrack. I don't just give away the spoilers.
Right. Yeah. What else we got here about this? They showed concept art of different planets in Kenobi during the Investors Day back in December. Yeah. And those things could always be a little bit, not to say that they're deceiving us, but yeah, they did. And I'm assuming that is a promise of more locations. And but my thing about that has always been, does it mean Kenobi goes to other locations? Because, for instance, and this is just throwing out this conceptually, you could have Inquisitors on Planet X, and then all of a sudden they're like, they're killing a Jedi. Now we know that Inquisitors kill Jedi, because people watching the show have to be informed what an Inquisitor is, and so they kill this Jedi, caught one. We got to go to Tatooine. But meanwhile, on Alderaan, hi, I'm Bel Organa. I need your help, dude. It doesn't. So like all of that doesn't confirm that Kenobi goes off world, and I think he will. I mean, I do think I think he will, but I always play it like until I know. It's kind of like, well, does he? Will he? Who knows?
I've always wanted the adventure to be on Dantooine.
Dantooine.
So when they go, we found nothing but remnants. They left a while ago. It's like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
where the Obi-Wan series took place.
Yeah.
Plus, it's Dantooine. That to me, that implies there's a Josh Tooine, a Tim Tooine.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Raphael Tooine.
Dantooine is just he's this guy, this big alpha nerd, and he's like, I'm Dan, and this is my planet. I own it now, and I'm renaming it, and there was just nobody to question him.
Roseanne Tooine.
Oh. Marcel says, I do think that most of the other non-desert planets will be filmed in the volume. Thoughts? Yeah, I think that mostly makes sense. But then again, it's like in Mando season 2, the Ahsoka episode, that stuff I thought would have been filmed in the volume too, and it was filmed on the location, at the location I was at today. And same thing with like the river, what do you call it? Where IG-11 dies, that like lava river, and that whole cave, that was filmed there too. So it might have been a mixture of the two, maybe. I don't know for certain, but
no, they got real lava.
Real lava.
Yeah.
Well, it did look like it was like kind of a real boat. Like I'm like they made the boat, obviously, and then they had put it in there with water, and then they had I think they had a tractor pull it. So I don't know if it was really floating or if they were just dragging it through the bottom of the muddy water, for like what it was, because it was all going to be changed. But
well, it's why water's blue, Jason. So
Yeah.
you can easily green screen or blue screen.
It's blue screened water.
Yeah.
That's why they do it.
Yeah.
So okay, so what's Rick up to right now? That's the Rook. Rick says speculating Jar Jar's VFX would be cost prohibitive. I don't think so. To be honest with you, I heard about a test using, I talked about it before on the show, using 5G tech, where they were able to go and do a basically have like Jar Jar Binks host the opening of SNL, and it was an actor playing the part. Meanwhile, while it's being filmed, the data from the tracking suit is being 5G wired to a server that was rendering it almost in real time, shooting it back to the studio, and then what you would see on TV would be Jar Jar Binks. So things have changed a lot, and I have a feeling like if Jar Jar's jumping around and being Roger Rabbit, then you run it. I'm sure it would be like a little bit more costly. But if we did have grizzled Jar Jar show up with the beard and he's just like, hey, you know what I mean? He's like, Misa on hard times.
Misa too old for this shit.
Honestly, Misa too old for this shit.
Yeah, it's Lethal Wars.
Yeah,
right? Lethal.
Yeah, and that's why Ahmed Best isn't involved. They got Danny Glover. Danny Glover as Jar Jar Binks.
We got all the Glovers now in the Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
Crispin Glover's next. That's the holy trilogy of Glovers.
God, dude. I mean, like I said, I really like. I respect Carrie Fisher and you know her family, if you will. Like I wouldn't want to. So like all the stories I heard about her, like most of them I would never throw out there because it's just like, you know, it's like it's gossipy, but it's true. But man, I would die if Crispin Glover was doing Star Wars, because that
Crispin
guy,
Glover as Darth Plagueis.
Darth Plagueis, yeah, it would be so good. No, I mean, because he's so fucking crazy. Like, you know what I mean? He's like in a good way. He's an eccentric artist, and he just like on the problems he gave the people in Back to the Future about like needing to mess with a mop and stuff. Just look that up if you don't know about it, and it's a rabbit hole that's fun. But I wouldn't be able to hold back from sharing Crispin Glover stories from that, because it would just be wild. He'd be doing LSD. He was doing LSD on Letterman and stuff, right? I mean, he would be great.
He's legitimately a character.
You know? Yeah, it's pretty funny because like George McFly is supposed to be the not rock and roll one. No, George McFly's the one who rocks. That guy parties.
Well, that's the real shame of not doing Back to the Future 2 in the 60s, per the original idea, is that psychedelic George would have, wow, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, because when you do get down to it, like, just to take 1 second there, if Marty had made his dad cool, which he did, the 60s would have been different for George. And that also could have affected the possibility of his existence. But just throwing that out there for the remake. They have a remake Back to the Future, which they never should. Like, you got to set it in the same time, and you got to use like the same music. Like, they could never remake that movie because of music. You know, like, what are you gonna do? Like who's the Huey Lewis of today? This is a big question.
Who is the Huey Lewis of today?
And
Mark Rebier.
And I gotta say that like that's kind of what I'm worried about the new Ghostbusters, about Ghostbusters 3, which looks like the most solid attempt at a Ghostbusters film since part 2. Is like, those movies had ridiculous but rad soundtracks, and like, are they gonna just go with the whole scored soundtrack? Is there gonna be are they gonna get little Nas to do a song? Because they really should. People are gonna hate that idea, but they should, because that's how they make Ghostbuster movies. You know what I mean? I'm for it, but I have a
Bobby Brown's like, I'm back.
Bobby Brown, yeah. Too hot to handle, too cold to hold. All right. Nike says, do you think Din Djarin will update his armor for season 3? I think that's kind of been the vibe, right? I mean, like, continually upgrading it and changing it, and it's constantly going through like these evolutions. It not only has story implications and shows his growth as a warrior, but they could sell shit around that too. So
he's gonna get a whip next, so he can go look for relics on Mandalore.
I would be for that. I would be okay with it. But yeah, I kind of feel like they're gonna constantly change it as it goes on. I wouldn't be surprised if like by the end of it he has like completely silver, like Captain Phasma quality stuff, and he's Mandalore. Like that's kind of where I expect this to end. But that's just me. Oh, Dale says hello there. See, you see what Dale did? Do you see what he did? I caught it.
Oh
But
yeah,
they're just saying hello there because they're Kenobi guys. They're a bunch of Kenobi kids.
It's very very clever. I was like prequel quotes, like it's like the one that gets me from my friends who are older and hate the prequels. Every now and then drop the "I'm just a man making my way in the universe." I'm like, not only are you quoting the prequels, my friend, you're quoting by far the one that people hate the most.
Yeah.
The worst of the prequels. So it's just like, it's funny how that line has stuck even with my 50-year-old friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm always impressed.
Yeah, that was one of the things about the prequels originally, was they were like, there's nothing quotable in this. And then by 2021, prequel memes is also taken off, and it's a whole thing because that generation grew up now. And so you do hear things that, you wouldn't have thought in 2012, that are like kind of like in the pop culture even. I can't tell if Marcel is joking. The Ahsoka episode was not filmed on location. They just built a massive forest and the gates to the city. No, the actual like that little like rock little thing where they sit, that was out there. Like they did both. Like I said, I'm not saying how much they did, but they built that out there. I have photos of it. Dell says, I have to go to work on some things while I listen. I'll be sure to run my computer if Jason or Rob can trigger me. Run to it. Okay. We will, but we're going to troll you. Don't worry.
Triggered.
Yeah. Misa too old for this voodoo, says Joel. So, Stickman wants a Breaking Bad-esque Watto Disney Plus show. It's like he's just Watto. He has a wife and kids, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh man, I need to build slaves." I don't know about that one. No. I'm not sure about that one. I don't think that one works. I will say like that was always one of the things about the prequels though. With like, let me try to get situated. I always felt like Watto should have got killed. Like he should have got killed in Attack of the Clones. Like he should have been like Anakin should have been like, you put us here and we ended up in this place and now my mom's dead, and he should have lightsabered him on the way back from killing the Tuscans, because Watto had it coming, man. I love Watto, but he's a slaver. Screw him,
Yeah, legitimately.
So Cad Bane said, hello there. See, everybody's doing it. A bunch of Kenobi kids on this stream. Mr. Lopez, how's it going, dude? I think it's perfect as it is. If they change it too much, it would just be a terrible cash grab, in my own opinion. Maybe. I mean, if they show his face more, perhaps that will be a thing. But if he goes through all these battles, if it does take place on Mandalore, you're going to have differences. Things are going to change.
He turns into a speeder bike in season 3.
Well, is he going to be able to go back to the Forge Lady? If he can't go back to the Forge Lady when stuff breaks, then he's going to have to use the Night Owls, Katie Sackhoff's character's Forger. I don't know what you call it. I don't go to Renaissance fairs. Sorry.
I was going to say, I was having Diablo flashbacks. I'm like, I do go to the Forge a lot. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, but I put a lot of MMOs though, so I've used the Forge. I'm not acting too cool about it.
He goes to La Forge.
La Forge, yeah. From Mallrats. No, sorry.
That's the Forge.
The Forge. That's his name.
Because I'm a nerd.
Yeah. Thrawn Talk podcast says Watto knows where the holes in the desert where problems are, where people are buried. Yeah, he knows where the bodies are. Richie says in 2022, Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Cassian, BB Season 2, Indy 5, Willow. Am I missing anything else? Lucasfilm's busy in 2022. I know. Let me ask you this, Mr. Richie. do you believe they're going to release all of that in 2022? Because I am a bit skeptical. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about anything being changed. I feel like Willow and Indy kind of sit off to the side. So they're not like a Star Wars project or a Lucasfilm project. So those ones I don't count. But and the animated stuff that will come out. That will hit, right? But
yeah, they're already probably rendering out episodes for season 2 right now, right?
yeah, and Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan, and Cassian are that's like 3 shows, and I hope they do it. And Mando is going to be the year after, I would say for sure. It was supposed to be what, December of? Was it even supposed to be December officially? I can't remember now. I think
Initially, they never announced a date. It was weird because
it was
they
just
didn't
Boba,
announce...
right? It was just Boba. It was just Boba in December of next year.
Yeah, because they didn't even
this year?
announce a Mando season 3. For the only thing they had was Boba Fett coming soon or whatever. It's that Superman teaser,
right?
So and that was due next year.
So Thrawn Talk says, I saw that Ahsoka stuff too. You're right. I remember that. I took you over there, and we looked at that Ahsoka stuff, and we're like, that stuff looks crispy. Lopez says, hey Jason, what's up? Sorry I didn't say hi before. Oh, it's cool, man. We get right down to business on the show sometimes we don't. Tyler says, Bespin posted a Kenobi set pics the other day. Yeah,
Scooped.
the photos that Bespin posted were, I think, of the lot like empty, but I think those are from before, because he was going to post that update. Unless I missed something. I could have missed something. But unless I missed something, I think that was from what he was going to post weeks ago. And then he decided to get the site up and going and stuff like that, which BespinBulletin.com is a thing now. So you should check that out. Like I said, one of the better Star Wars news people out there that I know of. Cad Bane, the cowboy bounty hunter, says, I hope we see some Satine flashbacks in the Obi-Wan show. Do you think it's possible that Satine's nephew is really her and Obi-Wan's child? That was the rumor back in the day. Was sound like I was going to say "was up," but it was that Corky.
I got a story about that. Hold on.
Corky was the illegitimate child of Obi-Wan, and that was always an interesting plot thread, I thought, had they gone there. I don't feel like anything's too sacred. I feel like if Satine had become pregnant, she wouldn't have told Kenobi. Like, she wouldn't have wanted to. I think she wouldn't have wanted to take him away from his duty. She was very like civically minded about what their responsibilities were, and I don't think she needed Kenobi to be the dad if that had happened. So I could see that story existing.
To be fair, we saw that movie once. It's called Superman Returns.
Superman Returns.
And all people go is, why didn't Superman know? You know.
Oh, right.
Didn't go so well.
Yeah.
People, you have a nuanced way of looking at things, Jason, that I appreciate. But the average fan goes, oh, just plot holes, you know? Like,
well, Darth Vader recognized that's his daughter when he sees her on Tatooine 4.
99 plot holes, but Jason only got one. Oh! You know, like, I just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so. It's definitely like one of those things where if this was real, you would be like, what's wrong with you? Why don't you know that? And then also, though, it's not real and the Force isn't real and people can't sense their children.
Shh.
I mean, I guess I can sense that my kids are messing with something right now that they're not supposed to. I just know it.
It's too quiet.
It's too quiet. I know they're probably playing video games when they're not supposed to yet. Something like that.
Or speaking of quoting movies we don't like, I constantly quote Turtles 2, The Secret of Ooze. It's a little too Raph.
Right.
You know, it's the only... I don't like the movie, but I love that line.
My review was go, ninja, go. Just go.
Out the door. Just go.
Just go. Yeah. anyways, I think that we're going to be getting a bunch of television shows next year. Are we going to get 3? I think is the question, because like 6 months for 2. I feel like 1 show per 6 months feels about right. But at the same time, like, how many does Marvel do a year? Does Marvel like kind of go a month, like take a month off and then have like another one? Is that usually
Well,
how it
they
is?
just started this year and they've already had 3 series. Plus,
So
they got 1 or 2 more
okay, then
before the end of the year.
Then I take it all back. Then
Yeah.
I take it back. Then I guess they're just throwing it all out there. I mean, not that Star Wars is the same as Marvel, or even I think Star Wars is an easier, or Marvel is an easier thing to sell because people see superheroes so individually. People still, I think Lucasfilm and Disney has had the idea or the project to make people see Star Wars characters as IPs on their own. Hence, like Solo, a Star Wars story, Kenobi, Ahsoka. Like that's what they want. If they can get the consumer base into that mindset, then they could just shovel it out, because people are like, those are different superheroes.
That's what I've been saying. I'm a toy maker who shovels content.
I shovel content. It's what I like to do. But
why can't I be a toy maker?
I'm just a little tinkerer. Anyways, I have a feeling that until they can do that, they kind of do whatever against the problem of people going, oh, my Star Wars show is here. Like, and as long as they're calling it that Star Wars show, so to speak, they run into the problem of people getting burnt out by it, or thinking that it's supposed to be ultra connected all the time. But I also think that the TV shows could be the way where they break out of that mold. And it could be a thing for us in the future where if the TV shows do set that rhythm of, like, Cassian's his own superhero, so to speak, in the Star Wars world, and it's okay. Like,
Cassian's a superhero confirmed. You can just see it now.
Cassian,
MakingStarWars.net says Cassian's a superhero.
Super Cass. But
he does the Goonies. Ta-da! Right? Like
yeah, no. Hey, you guys. That was kind of like one of the problems with Solo was that you just had episode 8, and then before that, when Rogue One came out, there were people who thought that was episode 8. There was like a lot of just general confusion by, like, you're really like you're just common person who doesn't follow the stuff with a passion.
One thing I learned in t-shirt licensing is how incredibly naive the general public can be about things.
Right?
People legitimately, honest to God, believe the Superman and Spider-Man are owned by the same company because it's comic books. Whoa.
Yeah. Look, I messed up everything. I'll take the whole set down. I got mad at that.
The illusion.
I was like, that's Marvel Comics and that's DC. What's wrong with you guys?
I've seen them. They're all in the same stores when I buy them, so they're connected.
Yeah. Well, don't worry. By the time the Disney monopoly ends, they will all be the same thing. Just give it some time. Give it time. They're gonna buy Warner Brothers.
You laugh, but
nothing.
Stranger things have happened.
No, I really, really believe that, like, that's what happens. That's how it's gonna go down. I don't know when, but it would not surprise me. Well,
I'll make a prediction.
Mm-hmm.
Right, from behind comes Lego and buys them all.
Lego, Lego. Nobody saw it coming, but Lego did it. I kind of think that, or one of the things I've always worried about is, like, at some point, if they keep growing how they're growing, it's gonna be like a monopoly, like, officially, and they're gonna be told to break up. And I'm like, what happened? I was always wondered, like, what happens to Star Wars then? You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't it be terrible if it wasn't handled correctly and we ended up with, like, Star Wars animation going somewhere and being sold off here, and then Star Wars films, or this whole thing?
You have way too much faith in our government to do things that benefit the public.
Right.
You're way too much, bro. Like, they can't even handle forest fires. You know what I mean? Like, you're thinking, no, they won't even, like, audit the wealthy. So
well, and that's what I'm looking at this as. Like this is that stuff run amok. What happens when when the pendulum swings the other way eventually. And for the record, I think that pendulum is very, very wide and swinging for a very long time. So like that's but
like the size of the universe, where it just keeps going further and further.
Yeah. It's not even going back, it's just spinning around in circles. They're just getting more and more. No, I mean
it moves like a UAP, Jason. You know what I mean?
For sure. No, it just seems like it's going to like eventually, if it doesn't collapse onto itself, there will be intervention, I would think, but who knows? I mean, we live in a weird world. So Cole wants to know any updates on when production begins on season 3 for Mandalorian and possible release window.
Comes out tomorrow.
Yeah, you didn't see it, dude? It dropped all at once yesterday.
Like Nintendo, we did the Mando Direct. They dropped it this afternoon. I got to be careful. They'll believe me.
It turns out the big twist was Grogu was Yaddle with Benjamin Buttons.
He's really a little Watto. He's going to grow wings. That's why he's a toy Darian. He's actually the size of a toy.
But
he goes to the mint shop up north and they make little toys. Like
So I'm only going to estimate, Cole. My estimation is that building starts in September and it goes into production like in October, like the other 2 seasons. That's kind of where I think we're at. That is my guess. It's an educated guess, though. Like, I'm not just pulling it out of nowhere, but not just pulling it out of historical trends either. But I will say the picture I just showed a little while ago, this guy, that could be from Mando season 3. Like, they could already be building stuff and getting ready to go, and this could be an early set build. Not saying that's the case, but you just never know. And until somebody
that's
tells
Grogu's
me.
room. Don't you know that? That's why he's got the logo up there. He's got his posters. He's got a little, like door.
Sometimes somebody who works on this show will like listen to the show or the podcast or this show or whatever, and then will hit me up and be like, "Hey, that's from Cassian, and we're filming, whatever it happens to be, something like that." So that could happen, but not holding my breath.
For all we know, man, I mean, this was funny. I joke, but that could be from Willow. Like, sometimes they work little Easter eggs, where you're like, what's the Star Wars? I mean, imagine if you're on the set of Close Encounters and you take a little snap of the spaceship and there's an R2D and C3PO and it goes, oh, look, this is, stranger things happen.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes.
Yeah, no,
it's not.
I don't know if Willow, just on a side note, is using the volume whatsoever. Like, everything that I've heard, it sounds like Willow is filming on location for the whole thing, and probably because of the places that it's not an expensive place to film.
It's because people don't sweat enough in the volume. Do you see that photo of John Cena having to be constantly sweat down under the armpits and the hair for the blue screen work and stuff? Because for Suicide Squad, they have to keep the sweat. Like, there's someone's job is to oil them and keep them sweated up for continuity.
That's so weird.
Yeah, that's a job, man.
There it goes. Okay, got my chat back. Mark says, Mr. Hamilton, to you, Rob, especially to you, Rob. Mark says Marvel did 3 in the first 7 months. So there you go. Yeah,
plus a cartoon series and Hawkeye. So that'll be 5 things this year.
And is there anything else coming?
Well, and we got Black Widow, but that's been in the can, so I technically don't count that. But Eternals is supposed to be this year too, and Shang-Chi. So
Shang-Chi. So there's like 2 more this year. Mm-hmm. Okay. So with that in mind, I'm going to say that all of that is coming. Then I reassess everything. I take back my original comments.
Kevin Feige is Matthew McConaughey in The Wolf of Wall Street.
Right?
He's like, we get shit. Yeah. You got to get it done, son. Oh, I hear you're making a Batman movie. Oh, clever.
Yeah. So with that in mind, Book of Boba Fett, that's going to start in December of 2021 and carry probably into 2022, we assume, if it ends up being 6 episodes or more, or depending on how late it starts. And Mando 3 will likely come out at the end of the year with Cassian and Kenobi in between. So I think that makes sense, dude. I think that's what it's going to be. And then we're going to have Rogue Squadron start filming, I think, next quarter too. I believe it's next quarter. So Cad says Disney Plus Jar Jar make it happen, right? You know, I mean, like honestly, have you guys ever watched like one of those like documentaries like about comedians and like where you kind of get like the sad clown thing? Like there is a story that could be told with Jar Jar Binks, and he does become a clown later on, as we know, like for the orphan children of Naboo. But it doesn't mean he never has another adventure. It doesn't mean that that's just not what, like, if we want to look at him as sort of a pure soul, maybe he does that stuff. But I think there's a good story that could be told with Jar Jar, and there's a good way to use Jar Jar, and there's even a way to, I mean, like deal with the Jar Jar problem and sort of fix it, And are you going to have a bunch of knee jerk nerds that are just like, oh god, Jar Jar, that's the one thing I never want to see in a Star Wars? Like, yes, you will, but there's nothing I think better than making people who say stupid shit like that, people who have no imagination, then making them eat their words, though. And because the idea of Jar Jar wasn't the problem, it was for them anyways. I don't have a problem with him personally, like actually just doesn't really, it didn't really bother me. I was kind of like, yeah, he's nuts, he's weird, he does this thing. Like some people get mad at C3PO. Like before that, people used to hate 3PO, not to the same extent, but it was just like, yeah, just don't listen to him. He does this thing. That's what 3PO does. And
George's like, that's how I treat him, and the actor.
but I mean, but it would be rad. I mean, and like there were rumors that were not real. I don't think they were based in any kind of reality. But in Revenge of the Sith, you have Padme's niece and nephew. I think it's a niece and nephew, or is it nieces? Anyway,
wait, when she goes back to Naboo.
Yeah, and then they end up getting cut from Attack of the Clones, but they are in Revenge of the Sith during the funeral procession. The parents and the sister and all that. Like that is in a weird way, they could spawn those off as characters someday. The Naberries. You know what I mean? I don't want a show called The Naberries.
Oh no!
I don't want that.
If 1980s George was in charge of 2000s prequel cartoons, Naberries would have been. It's the Naberries, and they're off on adventures in the universe, spreading joy and seeds of love everywhere.
It would be like the Gummy Bears band would get together.
It's Gem and the Holograms in Star Wars, right?
Oh, I'd watch that. That would,
if they
did an animated series that was Max Rebo done with the Gem animation and the same antics, I would totally be there. The modal
and they rotoscope size noodle, so she's like, oh yeah.
but that's one of the opportunities for more Star Wars is to improve past Star Wars. Like this Kenobi show is probably going to make someone, maybe a lot of people, I don't know, but who didn't like the prequels, it might make them appreciate it more. Some of the goodness that may be coming from that could kind of in a weird way get infused with that and make people like, oh, I appreciate seeing this.
My wife and her friends.
Really?
I guarantee it. It. Because she can't stand the prequel. She likes Ewan McGregor, loves Moulin Rouge, loves him as an actor. When she sees pictures of him come back as Obi-Wan, she's like, oh, hey, I hate those movies. I like Ewan. And if this does well, that's who they'll get. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's important. Like when something doesn't, like, just like I think it's important that Solo didn't connect, but it's important that they work around that. They don't let any of those threads die. That they kind of pick it up, and that if they elevate it, Solo was good, but they elevate it higher, they elevate it more, and then it will become more appreciated, and that ultimately makes old movies make more money for them, I think, too. Puts interest there, and makes them where they don't just fall off. You know, we haven't really seen Star Wars movies fall off yet, but so, you know, after they've been doing this for 20 years, there might start to become forgotten ones. I mean, I guess you could say like the Ewok movies, but I don't know if that counts.
Thanks to Disney Plus, they're never gonna be forgotten.
Never forgotten.
You know, my dream was Jar Jar and Manny Bothans to team up for Rogue 2.
Yeah.
And the only one that survives is Jar Jar.
that was one of the funniest things in Tag and Bink. Manny Bothans.
Yeah. I'm telling you, like a more jokier sequel to Rogue One. They would never do it. Let's just be honest, you know, and I love Rogue One and Catalyst and Rogue 2. If they ever made that, would be totally serious. But at Rogue 2, where it's more of a goof with Tag and Bink, Jar Jar, and Manny Bothans, where it's like the Ragnarok of, because look, Jedi's goofier, so why not getting the plans to the second Death Star would be more goofier than the first one, you know, just a bit more, you know, loaded weapon than lethal weapon.
Yeah, that would be good as an animated show called Rogue 2. You know what I mean? You know, and get Kevin Rubio in there and let him write it, and then
POO, right?
Yeah, I mean, it would be good if they did something like that. I don't think it ended up in the movie, but in Solo, I think there was a Tag and Bink cameo reference. Two of the characters who were dressed as that. I don't think it ended up on screen though. I think
it was such a big. It was like a whole internet. It was like Tag and Bink confirmed Solo. You know, like it was one of those news days where you couldn't escape it.
Right. Yeah, and I would have been all for it because it wouldn't have taken anything from the movie. It would just have been two guys look like they're Imperials, but everyone else who follows that stuff would be cracking up about it and appreciate it. But Thrawn says Pascal is shooting Last of Us right now, correct? Yeah, he is, and you know, put the helmet on him, and they don't need him. That's kind of funny about it. I mean, I really
series without him.
I don't want to take away from Pascal's like contribution to the role. Like I don't mean to like belittle it or to say it wasn't anything and he has no part in its success or anything like that. But you know, I broke the casting on that guy, and I know when it was going down, and I am pretty certain that the ink hadn't dried and they had already filmed a lot of the show. You know what I mean?
Well, James Earl Jones never once put on Darth Vader's costume.
Sure. Yeah. Did I ever tell you about the time David Prowse blocked me?
Like cock blocked you or just on Twitter?
No, he DM'd me.
Oh, wow.
My buddy Jeremy Conrad had said something about something. I don't know what it was. It was like a news story from back in the day, and he brought it up. And David Prowse is like, I am blocking you because of your friend and all of this stuff. And then I was just like, okay, whatever. Fuck you, David Prowse. You know what I mean?
My uncle was an old school nerd, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he's gone. This is what happens to old school nerds when they become too bitter. They eventually go to the dark side. So he's on the red hats now, right? So we don't talk. Okay. But he used to tell me, you know, he'd go to San Diego convention, Comic-Con convention in the 70s when it was at the across from the airport in a hotel. Right. And he was there when they first showed Star Wars off like a year in advance when it was in a little room, and he was super excited. He has photos because he was there to meet Leonard Nimoy, who was promoting Mission Impossible, you know? So he was super excited about that. But he used to tell me, I'd go to the cons and this guy, the David Prowse, who was Vader, you know, would just complain and bitch the whole time. He was just this total dick. And I was like, what? And look, I'm like a little kid. I'm like, someone isn't Darth Vader? You know, like I didn't understand the concept of actors, but he would just talk to me about this stuff. And then as I grew up and you get older and you read stories and you see how people interact with others at conventions, you realize, oh, his stories about David Prowse were true. He's a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, you know, like very chippish. Like I didn't get he used to say like the guy just didn't come across like he got the respect he deserved and don't you know who I am? And everyone's like, no, we don't. We don't know who you are.
No, that's what's kind of funny about him, because like when he DM'd me to like yell at me and then block me, I couldn't even say anything back. I was like, I don't even know what he said. I don't know what Jeremy said. I couldn't even say anything back to him. I would have been like, well, what do you want out there, man? And then I would have said, hey, I talked to David Prowse and he says this. Like, I would have done that. It would have just been like that easy. But he seemed like he was pretty hot-headed, and he's probably hot-headed naturally and a big and powerful dude. So he probably just like really never
super
built
bodybuilder, right?
Yeah, just never. I don't think ever built that. I'm guessing that social skill of like, let's talk for a second before I go off on you, and it wasn't a bummer. It was more hilarious, to be honest with you. Like, and I was always, and even just internally, I was always like, Bob Anderson did the amazing Vader work. Bob Anderson was the guy in the suit who does the lightsaber fights that matter, that were good. And it's like, but at the same time, you can't take away from David Prowse. He's the one who threw the Emperor down the shaft in the end. That was like his only thing he did, really, in Return of the Jedi. And he.
It's such a Kevin Smith chasing Amy moment. You know what I mean? To have like a mall, like a convention scene where you're in there, and David Prowse, or the actor who's playing David Prowse, is like, and I was Vader, and you're like, Bob Anderson was the real Vader.
Yeah.
He did all the sword work. All you did was throw an old puppet dude down a shaft,
No, and the honest to God truth is, if I had a time machine and I could go interview Anderson or Prowse, I would go Bob Anderson, like, for sure. I mean, just the way I feel about it. But it sucks though. Later on, his son unblocked me or something like that, and I was just like, okay, I don't care.
He's correcting the sins of the father, like,
yeah. It was.
Do you ever think, how like those old Hollywood restaurants have those caricatures of or photographs of all the celebrities that come in? Do you ever think about just printing up the celebrity DMs and like putting them in your studio? Just, here's all the times they complained.
I actually I was gonna go on, because I have the tweet where Mark Hamill wished my son a happy birthday. I was going to go on like the Amazon picture service and get that like as like an 8x10. Just because it's Luke Skywalker wishing my son Luke happy birthday. You can't beat that. But maybe when I do that, I'll throw in to have the screenshot of the David Prowse DM there too, because
the light and the dark.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's night and day, isn't it?
It's a dyad.
Yeah, but it was like, man, it was weird, because it was like, if I had done something to hurt his feelings, I would have said, oh, I'm sorry, dude, or you're really famous and you didn't seem real to me. I should have been more considerate. And
you're a pretty fair guy. I mean,
you were a person, like that's what I would have said.
Right.
But in the end, I never got the chance, and then he passed. So now forever we are enemies, David Prowse.
What if he haunts you? You're the one thing that got under his skin. He's like, yeah, you.
but he's not Darth Vader. He's the Clockwork Orange bodybuilder dude. Like,
that's right, Clockwork Orange guy. Yeah. You're like, why is the ghost wearing a top hat and a leotard?
David says, don't forget Spider-Man in December. So the Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, that's a Marvel and Sony production now, so it's 50-50.
Yeah. Carl says, will Sabine show up in Mando 3? Didn't we hear something about her helmet being on a set at some point? So I reported back then that I was seeing a ton of Sabine helmets down there. What they were doing is they were buying Sabine helmets from the costumer, what do you call them? Like the people who make costumes, like the 501st
cosplayers.
Yeah, cosplayers. They were buying Night Owl helmets from them, and then they were editing them. So eventually somebody from Mando contacted me and was like, hey, so you were right. What you saw was what you saw. But we were using those as our starting point. So I imagine that those probably eventually became the Night Owl helmets that we saw in season 2, even, or something like that. It sounds like.
I'd like to jump in on that one.
Sure.
Little bone to pick. So pre-Pandy,
Yeah.
not a convention would go by where some lawyer who's got nothing better to do would like to go into a convention and just freak every fan artist and cosplayer out by letting them know you don't own all this stuff you're wearing, so they could come and get you at any moment, like the Gestapo was, like the IP Gestapo is going to come for their fandom
Have you
or something.
smelled those people after they've been in it for 4 hours, sweating their balls off?
That's all I do. Don't you know?
Nobody's gonna
pre-pandy. That was my hobby. I would just walk up to cosplayers.
I'm about. I love me a stinky Savage Press in the morning. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, and so it was like, and then you have to deal with these people these fans on the internet who are just freaked out. Oh, they're coming from own stuff, and what they don't tell you is, hey, that fan art and cosplay, these studios, especially like the Star Wars productions, they end up paying you for this stuff. Like if it wasn't for, I'm not a big fan of the 501st, just, structurally, but they contributed a lot of work to The Mandalorian and fleshing out stuff that they didn't have the money or time to do, within production. You would end up maybe with CG dudes or something like that. So,
yeah.
And on top of that, like, more to the point, unfortunately, we don't live in a world right now where art directors can look at what you do and go, oh, you're an amazing furry artist. You could probably draw a Chewbacca. Like, they can't make that correlation. They have to see your take on Chewbacca before they'll ever contact you.
Right.
Like, and that is totally like when I was in college 20 years ago, my instructors who were Disney people were like, don't draw fan art because if they see any fan art in your portfolio, they won't hire you. And now it's like, if you don't draw fan art, they won't hire you.
Right.
Like I literally got into games because of a piece of fan art I did 7 years prior.
Yeah.
So it is strange though. Like
What
this
was
sort
it?
of thing.
Was it the girl bunny from Space Jam?
Yeah, 100%. Like
I thought so. I just,
yeah, well,
just knowing you, I just thought so.
Those furry artists have some amazing anatomy abilities. Like I keep telling my friends, I'm like, one day you think the world's weird now. Wait till the furry artists get a hold of everything. Maybe they get into positions of power. People are like, they're censoring my Lola bunny. Don't worry. In about 10 to 15 years, they're going to be in charge, and then it's going to be drones everywhere.
It's going to be, yeah. I mean, we're going to get that Chewbacca furry movie. Finally, we're going to learn
size of a baby's arm.
We're going to learn what it looks like when Wookiees kiss. What do Wookiees look like when they make out? So that answers the Sabine question. Rick says, I want Ian McDiarmid to pop up in Kenobi and Andor. Yeah, it would be awesome if the Emperor was in these shows and if Ian McDiarmid was playing him. Like that would be great, because I mean he's got that character so down pat. Like even if it was written bad, he would make it work. He'd make it sound right. Like I have a complete faith in that guy. At the same time, he is sort of like the top dude, and so in a way, a lot of these people wouldn't be seeing him. So unless we get into a more affluent kind of story, like Cassian is undercover at an Imperial, fundraiser. I don't think they'd have a fundraiser, but you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a CPAC.
I don't know.
For Star Wars,
yeah. The Palpatine CPAC. Yeah, then it's like I don't expect.
There's light money and dark money. Don't you know that? Like,
and yeah, they love the dark money over there. It would kind of it would also, one of the things that we don't know or that I haven't got a clear sense on is like, so one of Lucas's original ideas was that like Palpatine, he went two ways with it, but Palpatine either becomes the Emperor and locks himself away, and then you never see him really. No one ever sees him for years. And he's just like doing dark magic stuff. And then the other idea was closer to the Praetorian Guard idea, that from Rome, where the Emperor was then locked away, but he was actually being controlled by the Praetorians, but which were like the Grand Moff Tarkin types, who had sort of like the Emperor was supposed to talk to them and they were supposed to talk to the people. Well, they just kind of seized power and were just being awful. And that was one of the other kind of ways he figured it out. And it doesn't mean they're sticking to anything that Lucas suggested or had in mind, but I'm curious to see which Palpatine we end up with as this moves on. 20 years from now, what is the impression? Is Palpatine a guy locked away who the galaxy rarely ever sees, or not? You know, and we know that's
Just in a room with a bunch of Snokes, bro.
Yeah,
Like...
just pound in Miller High Life.
Yeah, he's got his favorite band, Snokes Patrol.
Snokes Patrol. Oh man, dude! Not to pick on you, but if he is, Snoke is totally wearing your flannel too. Listening to Snokes Patrol.
Hey man, flannel is officially the pattern of the universe. All right, let's be honest.
It's true.
Why aren't there flannel Jedi robes? Someone should have done the flannel Lucas Jedi robe outfit.
You know what's funny is I used to have a ton of flannels, and then I lost a bunch of weight. And I was like, I looked like the guy from Big in them when I still wore them. So I was like, I'm gonna throw these out so I can't gain the weight back and wear them again. And then, but I was always getting picked on for always wearing flannels. And so, not like in a bad way, but like, why do you always wear a flannel? You know, that's what people used to always say.
So you take it off and all you wear now is a black shirt. Like now all I do is wear black shirts and jeans. So it's irrelevant.
People don't know, but this is actually unfinished ceremony Luke cosplay. People just don't know it. I just don't have the jacket yet.
Yeah, this is actually George Lucas's skin. I've cut it off and I'm physically wearing it. Well, I went dark, huh?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I was gonna say raising money. How about a Go Force Me? Right? Like it's it's how the rebellion raises money to fight the Empire, you know, because or the in the sequel trilogy, because the New Republic won't pay for a military, right? So they have to use Go Force Me to fight the First Order.
So Rick says, I predict we'll see Sabine again in live action. Love that character. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I'm gonna be just like real about it. She's a main character in a show. She's likely, whoever they get is going to be super attractive. She's a Mandalorian. Like, there's all of these like check boxes that you go, why wouldn't they? You know, like eventually, why wouldn't they? And it does make sense that we'll see her like in the Ahsoka series, as it does appear that Ahsoka and Sabine are on some kind of mission together to get Ezra back or whatever. So how long do they stay together? What is Ahsoka's greater backstory, though? It's one of the bigger questions that we need to know, to figure that out, I think, because she is on that quest at the end of Rebels, yeah, but there's a lot of years in there, and there's a lot of stories, a lot of places that it can still go.
They don't seem to be taking like they're not rushing to get through. That's technically fan service when you bring up a character people really like and bring more of them. They're not rushing to do it, but they're not taking 20 years. They are doing it. You know, like Ahsoka, live action Ahsoka, Rosario Dawson. That's total fan service. It works, you know, but they didn't take 20 years to get there. You know, they took 5 or 6 years. So I agree with you. I think it's coming.
Yeah, he's onto something. Rick Jones says he speculates that Ahsoka will knows how to contact Sabine. Yeah. And I mean, even Mandalorian season 3, if they go to Mandalore and there's a whole thing going on there, like with that kind of stuff, I mean, that is a good place to put her in too. Or you could introduce her in the Ahsoka show and then have her come into Mandalorian. I mean, when the show's called The Mandalorian, motorcycle, and somebody is going to go there and has the sword and is technically the leader of the planet now. I mean, he has the birthright to, I don't know if the birthright's the word, but he's the new ruler because he has the dark saber.
He has the power.
Yeah, and that's supposed to go to, that was Sabine's, and what's her name wants it. So it does make sense. I mean, I would think that story would end up getting them all involved eventually. So Old Thinker Tube says, yeah, I bet you're right. If I recall correctly, they left together at the end of Rebels. Right. So I also think that fans are going to start reading into what happened in Rebels really heavily, to predict what happens in those shows. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much those shows are gonna like really reference that stuff. Like they're gonna have to like fill you in some way. I'm curious to see how they like do this, because they would like everybody to go back and watch Rebels, but at the same time, hey guys, go watch 4 seasons of a cartoon to get ready for our live action TV show we hope you watch. No, they can't do it that way.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah, that's not realistic. So I'm curious as if they just kind of give some references and Star Wars fans go, there you go. But yeah,
I firmly believe though, Jason, as much as like they've tried to make those cartoons as canon-ish as possible, if they have a great idea for an Obi-Wan Maul fight, they're gonna be like, yeah, the cartoon isn't canon. You know?
And I can see that. I could see them figuring out a way to make that happen if they need to. At the same time, Dave Filoni, who made those cartoons, is the one who's making the Ahsoka show. You know what I mean?
Filoni takes no baloney. You know, like he don't put up with that. He's like, no.
He doesn't take any baloney.
He has a George hammer. It's a hammer in the shape of Lucas's. It's flannel. All right. He's nope. Shutting it down.
Yeah. He has to. But I think that is what makes it have the best chance of being honored, of them really holding back and not stepping on those toes. And in the end, they're using Darth Vader in the Kenobi show, so I think that was their workaround. Can't use Maul. Okay, we'll just use Darth Vader then. So
fine.
Hey, how's it going, Geek Furious? I predict that every Star Wars character will get a Disney Plus show within the next 100 years. I agree with you.
You think we're gonna last 100 years?
I will one up you though, and I will predict that fake articles predicting 1,000 Star Wars characters will have their own Disney Plus show will happen in the next 10 days.
Disney Civil War. I gotta get that shirt made, by the way.
Disney Civil War.
Disney Civil War is that's the one that I can't get past, because the reality of, like, you know, if you read the Rinsler books and like how they're setting up, like I'm digging through them now.
Yeah.
And the whole moving from Los Angeles to San Francisco, and then all the logistics that get involved of building a studio twice, and then all the money they need to build the cameras and the different rigs. And, you know, that's like a $7 million investment before they go. And this is, you know, 1980 money, you know, 81 money. And like, could you imagine at the same time, like, and we're going to fight one another. Like, you know, we're going to have internal battles too when we go to work, you know, like,
yeah.
What do people think happens at jobs? I don't understand.
I just know you get fired. I just know if you decide to have a civil war with the boss,
ask Gary Kurtz.
Yeah. You just show up to work thinking that everything's going to be cool, and you're not
Gary
working
said,
there.
We're going to make 9 more.
I'm not. Yeah. Richie says, I hope they come out in 2022, at least Kenobi in 2022. I think we'll get, I think Book of Boba is obviously going to lead into 2022. Kenobi and Cassian for sure. And then I think if things go fine, like I think we should also point out that I don't know for certain how many crew members are vaccinated or aren't, but in California, vaccinated people are doing okay. Some you know, you get sick, but you don't get hospitalized and you don't spread it as much, and so that's good. So, you know, I mean, Gina Carano.
Well, an Acolyte's 2023, right?
I think so. I don't know. Well, I heard Acolyte. There was a thing that came out from somebody else that sounded reputable, that Acolyte was going to be filming next year. So maybe they're going to get way ahead. Maybe it's going to be a 7-month shoot like Cassian was. Beats me. That's the kind of stuff where I'm like, how many episodes is it going to be and stuff like that. You know, it makes it kind of hard to figure out or to guess. But
yeah, I'd say 2023.
But if we end up going into shutdowns again. I hope we don't, but things are happening. Things they don't look as bad as they have, but they don't look good right now. And so I think we should be prepared for the fact that they may get slowed down. They may go into production and a new strain could make everybody sick, and they might stop the production and log jam everything up. I mean, it could happen. But right now, we're just guessing and hoping that that's not the future. But I don't have much faith in humanity these days, to be honest. Hey, Des, how's it going? Am I delusional in thinking that we have seen the last of Grogu? I think Luke has him and Mando in his new arc now. Well, I think that would be the most grown up way for them to handle it. I mean, I think it would be the smartest thing for them to do is to go, Grogu was a huge hit, a sensation. Don't give us too much Grogu. Don't overdo it. Like, don't ruin your good thing. You guys put it out there, did a good job. It was a success. The character is loved. Now, like, don't overdo it. Like, that's what I would say. Down the road when you do that Luke Skywalker show, Grogu and Luke's coming back, holy cat, like that would be huge. But what, like we've been talking about, like Star Wars Santa mentions that Paper Moon movie and says that there's a lot based off of that, and that Favreau said he was inspired by it. And in that one, the kid goes back to the guy that she's to the stranger, if you will. So I don't know. I just don't know. I could definitely see Disney being like, put him back in the Mandalorian, please. I could see them wanting it. I mean, but at the same time, like if you look at him, like I think they would also be foolish too, because they made a ton of products on Grogu. But that will end. People will be like, I already have a Grogu beach towel and a Grogu t-shirt and a Grogu coffee mug, and
but you don't have a Grogu with the red arm,
right? Yeah, exactly. and people will see it, be like, I'm not going to buy Grogu with the red arm. And so if they're smart, they'll know that that's not going to like leave well enough alone and make more good stuff. So like,
we should sell the shirt, don't overdo the Grogu.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's true. Don't. But Geek Free says, I speculate that Jason will learn not to read the same question twice in a row. No, that will never happen. Honestly, okay, so it's two things. Is I'm not wearing my glasses, but this chat like does not like my computer. Like it'll scroll all the way up, like a bunch of new will come, and it'll be like, here's all the new stuff, and I have to go find it. And when you click it once, it puts it on the screen. It's convenient and annoying at the same time.
I foresee I will continue to make the same dad jokes until I get the response I deserve. Me
too. Dell says we haven't seen the last of Grogu, and I agree with that. Like Grogu will, I think, has a big future in Star Wars. I want to see him kind of grow up, but at the same time, take away that cuteness, and you lose what like really works. So, whoa, thanks, Jason. How's it going? This is my UFO bud, but thanks, man. I appreciate the support for the channel, dude. I really wish the female officer in the end of last season for the Mandalorian, but I really wish the female in the end of last season of the Mandalorian. I think it would have been a really, really cool as well to show Sabine doing her secret espionage thing again. Yeah, I kind of thought when Satine's sister shows up, I could never remember her name for some reason. It's always on the tip of my tongue,
It's Dantine.
No, yeah, it was weird that they made like the new what's her name? She's from wrestling, but I don't watch wrestling, so I don't really know. Sasha something. She was like from wrestling. And,
I don't watch modern wrestling. So.
Yeah. I mean, but
every now and then something breaks the mold. I don't hear much of it.
Yeah. Where's Eric Denton? He knows everything about wrestling. With that said, I was kind of like, Sasha Banks was her name. I was like, why didn't they
Binks.
make that Sasha Banks? Oh man.
Money in the Binks. It's the Jar Jar heist story we never got.
So somebody sent me something. They're like she's an anti-masker. Expose her. I just wrote back, fuck you.
Even Darth Vader wore a mask, and all these freaking red hats love to put the Imperial slogans on their back of their freaking SUVs. You know, like...
I will say though that it like I think when Sabine does come in, it's going to be a big deal. And when they do, I do appreciate that if they didn't just regulate her to being the lady standing next to, you know what I mean, next to the person talking the whole time. You know, like, yeah, like, oh, she's an emerging character, but we didn't do anything with her, kind of thing. So on one hand, I appreciate that. On the other hand, would have been cool to have seen her by now. But is she not in the Mando because she's out with Ahsoka doing the mission? Is the big question. And he says, he clarifies, I wish the female officer ended up being Sabine. So, yeah,
I mean, but the realities of that, though, Jason, are that, you know, let's say you get that in a show and you're like, hey, that one back there is that character. And then it's like the shows just become these Easter egg these snarf hunts. Yeah. You know what I mean? For like things that don't have real meaning because there's no actual point to them being in the story other than it's filler. And then you feel like all they do is it's like, let me finish my sentence. All they do is put in references to characters but don't actually use them. It's like when JJ casts... This is a slight against JJ, right? And I like JJ, but this is when he casts famous actors that have no point in the story, you know? And he's just like, hey, here, we're going to put in one of the greatest actors of all time and give him like 2 seconds of dialogue and then never see him again, you know? Like, and it happens again and again and again. But just imagine that instead of the famous actor, now it's a character you love. You wouldn't love it so much, you know? It would get old quick. So it seems cool, but we went through this with the prequel trilogy. Remember when it was like trying to hunt down the Millennium Falcon and every screenshot? I think the white chief, it says in the background, you know, it's in the hangar, you know, there it is. Like it was like this giant, I call them snarf hunts because that's what they are, you know, like you just.
Yeah, I mean, a bit more serious than that, but was like Lando Calrissian and Rebels. Oh, here we're getting my puffer pig. And you're like, oh, really? Like, I look back on that, I'm like, he wanted a space pig? That was my Lando story? Was he wanted a space pig? So, yeah, I'm with you. I do agree that it's like you hope that if they're introducing threads that end up being, if they do it that way, that end up being fruitful. That like it's the emerging character kind of idea of like, oh, she's coming, she's going to be very important. And that's like the other side of it is when they just come out of nowhere. Sometimes that's appreciated.
Well, in episode 1, we were all hunting for Bail Organa. And I was one of those fans who was like, Bail should have been there from the beginning. You know, and they even cast a dude and he had his own stupid trading card and he looked like Wedge Antilles in a freaking hat, you know?
Right.
Like Pope Antilles. Yeah. And then, you know, you get to episode 2 or he didn't have a lot to do, but he had something to do with the story that was crucial to the story.
He went,
and so then you catch. He
went like this. He went. Oh, democracy's dying. He does that. He goes at the end. He's like,
yeah. It's something, but I mean, as opposed to just he's there in the background like the ETs are in Phantom Menace. You know?
Yeah,
bro, ETs are Star Wars canon. Can we not like pass over that idea? Like they legitimately are actual Star Wars canon.
And then when in ET when he sees Yoda, he wants to go home. It all makes sense.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it blows my mind every time I see it.
Richie says, also, do you know if they have any plans for the Mos Eisley movie using bits and pieces of it and other Star Wars projects? Any chance they can go back and make that movie? I'm just guessing, but no, I don't think so. And I'm not allowed to say who I believe was the director of that because I was told I wasn't allowed to.
Ooh.
But with that in mind, I don't see them being. I kind of think that they're just like, that train passed. That's my sense.
Okay,
and so
I don't know anything about this, right? Yeah. So I can speculate, right? And this in our segment, This Is So Wizard. Let me wizard cast. I need to make the graphic for that for the background.
We need it.
Yeah. It's Robert Rodriguez trying to do Pulp Fiction with Mos Eisley Cantina.
Oh, that would be cool. I'd take
See,
that.
it's too good an idea. It won't happen.
Right. Yeah.
But it's his version.
Yeah, I have a feeling, and I don't know that much about that stuff. I don't know like that much about like anything deep about it, unfortunately. But it makes me kind of think that the idea was we're going to be using this stuff for so many different projects that we could make this movie at a discount in a way, like it was going to be cheap. That's
George is like, I like it. Keep going.
Yeah, I kind of think that's speculation, but that's what I think where they were going with it.
And there's nothing wrong with them doing Star Wars on the cheap.
No,
I mean, I'm always conflicted with this, Jason. Like the complaints since Marvel really ramped up the scale of their films leading up to Infinity War. It was like, these films are too big. I wish they go back to single character films that don't have any team-ups. And then when they do a TV show about single characters that don't have any team-ups, they go, where are the team-ups? Where are all the characters? Why didn't this character show up and that character? Like, and I've always felt Star Wars needs to have some smaller, lower budget stuff. And Mando, it's not low budget. It's like lower budget, right? Mid-tier budget. I think when you add up all the development costs and stuff, it probably adds up a bit. But visually, it's not as at the same scale as an episode 3 or 2 or 1.
Yeah, there's no huge space battle at the end of Mando or something like that.
There's just Filoni. Yeah. So that's legitimate. But those scenes where he's just in space and space battles, I'm like, this, I could just watch like a crew that has to get like money in the banks, right? They stole some credits and the Empire is after them or whatever, or they stole from the Hutts and it's just them surviving. Like that wouldn't be such a bad show,
Or they could remake Brewster's Millions with Jar Jar Binks.
He gets all the money on Naboo and he blows it.
He's got to spend these credits.
He funds Sebulba, right? Just to make up for, right? It brings back the pod racing.
So Geek Furious says, if you think we've seen the last of Grogu, I would like to sell you the Brooklyn Bridge for real cheap. Yeah. I'm with you there. I don't think for a second we won't see him again. But I definitely think that if they were, I think they will get more mileage out of it, more money out of it, and more good stories if they don't milk it. But there was that story. It was Andy Signor who released a scoop that said he was in Book of Boba Fett with Mando already.
But Book of Boba Fett, I imagine, is a non-linear tale. So it's hard for me to. I mean, it's called the Book of Boba Fett. If it's not a non-linear tale, it's kind of like a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
To jump around a bit. I mean, there's a lot of Boba's life we don't know about. So.
Yeah. I mean, there is a chance that they show some of season 2 from Boba's perspective, and that there's more stuff in it. Like it could go that way.
He literally shows up in that one scene with what's her face, and then picks her up out of the desert, and then you don't see him again in season 1, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, like, remember when she gets injured on Tatooine, she's out there dying in the desert.
Yeah,
you see like him show up, or we don't know it's him, but it's him, and that's the one who rescues her in the desert. So, could very well. Also, God darn it! Oh, could you have predicted, Jason, that even 6 months ago that Lucasfilm proper or Disney would have released a poster with Luke and Grogu together, like the way they did with the young Luke face? Like,
so I've seen it. I threw it up on the show, and like the thing I don't know is that one of those paintings you buy at Disneyland, like in the gallery?
It's a Walmart poster. Yeah,
it's just a straight up Walmart. Okay, so it's just a straight up Walmart poster. Okay, yeah, no, I wouldn't have predicted that. I would have predicted the other side of it, where it was like in one of those galleries, like out at Disneyland, where they paint cool Luke Skywalker photos and oil paints and stuff. Like I could have I would have believed that. I've seen stories coming out like, oh, this is canon and this about it and what it means, and I don't believe anything in there as canon whatsoever. I think it's just a cool prediction or a cool piece of art that they have or did, and
There's a episode 10 that popped in my head where slightly olderish Grogu, who's like now 10 instead of 9, because the way they age, is just playing with Luke's hand. You know what I mean? It's all he's got left. You know? Oh.
Yeah.
You know, it's maybe he's slowly building the hand out to a new Luke. You know, I mean,
and what Luke says, give me the Luke and Grogu show right now. I'm with you, Luke Jones. Like you are echoing my heart. Luke Jones.
The sooner they cast Sebastian Stan, the better, right?
Yeah, I mean, not that he's old, but he ain't getting any younger. So like, let's get on with this. We want it. Let's do it. Luke Jones says Sebastian Stan to the front. You'll never find another good actor that looks that much like Hamill. Already under Disney contracts and is the right age. Small prosthetics would completely sell it. Yeah, I don't even think that they need the prosthetics. I mean, maybe if the hair isn't right or whatever for some reason, you know, give them the fake wig or something if they needed to. But I don't even think that's even needed. Like
I've gone full method. I'm cutting my hand.
No, I mean he looks like he's one of the Hamill kids. You know, he looks like him.
He looks more related to them than Adam Driver does to Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
You know, like 1000%.
I mean, like Nathan Hamill looks a lot like Mark Hamill, but if you were to put both of them together, like all three of them, and say this is the father, which two of the son, I'd be like, I don't know, I can't tell. Like it would be really hard. And yeah, and it's Luke after, and if it's Luke after Return of the Jedi, you give him a different costume, you move away from the 1983 hair a little bit, and then you end up in a place where you're like, oh yeah, it's him. It's Luke, you know? And Mark Hamill's performance and range of Luke is pretty well defined now. So like Sebastian Stan wouldn't have a hard time like looking at what Hamill did and then just echoing it, you know?
Can I get a little gripey, a little triggery, right?
Yeah.
My biggest complaint about episode 9 is probably the least anyone's ever complained about it, but when Ghost Luke is sitting there going, yeah, when he's raising up the ship, I can't watch it.
Yeah.
It's like, why did you let him do that take? You know?
Yeah.
Like you ever remember the quote from you ever listen to the Making of Star Trek 2 audio commentary with Nicholas Meyer?
Mm-mm.
He talks about working with Ricardo Montalban. And the first time
Legend.
Ricardo goes in,
also,
legend. He comes in,
the inspiration for Hondo Inaka.
Okay, so you're so good with those names. I can't remember. So Ricardo Montalban comes on set and he starts doing whatever scene they're doing, and he's really character acting, right? Like he's hamming it up. Basically, Meyer's nice about it.
I am Khan, and this is my wrath.
Or he does it like the Cumberbatch way, right? Khan, like it's just like. And so after the take, Nicholas Meyer brings him to the side and he says, "Hey, that was good. You know, if you show," he quotes some famous director. He goes, "So and so said, if you show them your top, you have nowhere left to go." Meaning that if you go as far as you can go, if you overdo it, where else you're going to go from there? Mm-hmm. And then Ricardo Montalban gets the hint. Right. And he goes, okay. Yes, I see. Yes. You're directing me now. Yes, this is good. And Meyer, you could tell, is like, is he fucking with me? You know? But then Ricardo goes back on camera and then seethes it, puts it underneath the surface. Right.
Yeah.
So that when he does eventually release, it's always with this like explosive, but there's this pull back. And I just feel like Mark Hamill, maybe it's the cartoon voice work where you have to kind of like project your voice through the drawings in a way, doesn't understand that instinctually these days, you know, and like needs a director or someone to remind him to just don't show them your top, bro. You know, like just bring it back a little less ham mold,
little ham. Yeah. Vermont Mike says Book of Boba will be our only break from Grogu. I'm betting we get him halfway through season of Mandalorian. So
the little book of Grogu. It's the little book. It's just like a couple of 3-minute shorts.
The little green book. That's what it's called.
Yeah. It's like the Pickles Band with Minches.
me and Mr. Jason Pemberton did an episode on Saturday, so you could go back where we talked for like 3 hours, just shoot the shit about UFOs. So if you didn't catch that and you or just need something to listen to of two guys talking about UFOs for 3 hours, I had a good time.
digging through it, my friend.
It was a fun conversation, and I think we'll do it again on Saturday. I hope we're going to do it again on Saturday too. So Sasha Banks, Wookie got to us. Wookie got it to us.
I like Binks.
Sasha Banks, Rick Jones. Saturday we get back to it. That is our hope. That's my plan. So Lopez says Sasha Banks. Yeah. I don't think he said it that way. I added that.
I like the Sasha Banks, man. It's just professional wrestling in Star Wars universe, you know.
Sasha Banks is dead to me now. Says Mr. Geek Furious. Rick Jones will be there. Cool. Yeah, everybody's coming. Jason's coming, so I'm coming. Yeah,
nobody likes a snarf hunt.
No, Jason says nobody likes a snarf hunt. However, it would have been a great opportunity to show how Ahsoka got to where she was in Mando. Maybe beginning the hunt for Thrawn and Sabine and breaking off for a plan. Yeah.
But that's what you do a series for. You show that story. You don't quickly say it in some throwaway dialogue. You show it.
I agree with you if they do it, which I think that they will. Well, yeah, if they never do it, then I get where he's coming from completely. But if they do it, then you're like, yeah, you don't want to kill the opportunity for that. But at the same time too, like you want to make new characters and you want to introduce new things and build stuff up. It's like there's always like a weird balance between overbuilding up new characters, not building enough new ones, not bringing back old ones to remind everybody what they love. And I often feel like those things usually don't feel very like balanced to me, but maybe they're balancing it. Maybe this is going to be a time when it is. I think after we have a few seasons of these shows, we'll know.
Can I make an observation that you just popped in my head? Was, to give the sequel trilogy some credit compared to the prequel trilogy. When you think of the prequel trilogy, you're not thinking of new characters. You're thinking of Obi-Wan, Anakin, Palpatine, clones, which are stormtroopers and Mandos. When you think of the sequel trilogy, you think of new characters. Yeah. You think of Rey and Kylo. You could say they're anagrams or whatever. Like Carnage and Venom are sort of a play off Spider-Man, but you're thinking of the new characters more than you're thinking of Han Solo and Luke Skywalker and everything you already know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's true. I guess I do. Yeah, I do think of Rey, Finn, and Poe. Most is what it comes to mind when I think of that. Rick says Joss Whedon probably got the axe after the Justice League drama, but no, it wasn't Joss Whedon.
He shot it all in black and white at his mansion and didn't pay anybody. By the way, that's true.
I don't really follow, like I see stuff about him and I don't really follow it because I never really like cared about his stuff. Like, and honestly, it's not me being stubborn. Like, I've never seen an episode of Buffy. I just never got to it. Just never saw it. It was like working my teenage Joe job at the time that show was on, and just totally just missed past that. I saw the original movie, but that was it.
Ooh. Well, Paul Rubens.
Yeah, as a teenage boy, though, I really liked what's her name, Christy Swanson.
As a middle-aged man, I'm like, I don't like her no more.
Rick Jones. Yeah. So what? Rick Jones says Joss Whedon probably got the axe after all that. Oh yeah, I already read that. God, see, Geek Furious set me up, man. Rick Jones. It's a Comic Con at Home exclusive poster. The Grogu.
Yeah, it's going to Walmart. I don't care what they say. Okay. They'll have a green glow instead of an orange glow. Like it, I don't care. Like these things all become exclusives until they're not. So for now, what they call those limited exclusives.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if we ended up seeing it sold at Target. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they had the oil painted replicas of it at Disneyland and that other thing either, though. Des says, I can see Grogu return at the end of the series for his Wahoo moment, but I'm just not locked into that if he's an automatic return like many believe. Yeah, same. Wahoo! Yeah.
Has anybody done it? I mean, look, that's only famous because Harrison Ford sold that, return at the very end of Star Wars, yeehaw! Yeah. Like, has anybody even come close to that?
Just Burt Reynolds, man. That's it.
But not in Star Wars, right?
In Star Wars,
Like,
no.
like nobody. Like
just Burt Reynolds and the Dukes of Hazzard. Other than that, nope.
It's not referenced to Dukes of Hazzard too much.
Yeah, right. Luke Jones says, "I'm thinking the mole for prosthetics mainly." Oh, I don't think they're gonna give the mole. That would be. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if people think of Luke and they're like that mole, that Skywalker mole. I'm gonna say though, when I saw the guy who they got to play Luke in The Force Awakens, I saw like a really, really good photo of him one time, and he didn't have the mole. For what it's worth. Luke said the voice would probably be the biggest hurdle. Yeah, but that's just acting. You know what I mean? Like, and I think Sebastian could do it.
Yeah, here's my take on it. I've been waiting for years. I'm like, since I was a kid, for them to cast new actors as these roles, because in comics I never liked it when they followed the art, made the art look like the actors.
Yeah.
Within some realm, but at the same time, the Heir to the Empire had a miniseries, and the first 2 issues were drawn by an artist named Oliver Valentine, who sort of hit the look, but did his own thing, and it was stylized, and it's amazing. And I think the things that end up looking too photorealistic, if they aren't posters, but in comic book form, end up being weird over time, or they just have to trace from photos. Same with the voice. If it's always the same, first off, I don't have the same voice now I had when I was 19 or 20. I mean, I just don't.
So, hi, my name is Rob.
Right. But I mean, if I've been saying this for, like, if characters can play Hamlet for God knows how long, or Sherlock Holmes for God knows how long, you know, all these things, and Star Wars is meant to be timeless, we have to get out of the fact that they have to talk like the actors, which was my hope, that Solo would be the first real one to do it. And it's just kind of a shame that it came so soon after they killed off Han Solo that it, like, my wife and her friend, I always bring them up, but like her friends are like the normies, right? Like just average people that know, hey, a Star Wars is out. They felt it was like they're trying to replace Harrison Ford, you know, with someone else. And it's just so weird. Like, I don't know how you convey that to people, you know?
Yeah.
Because Ewan has some Alec Guinness inflections, but he's not, when he's just being Ewan, it's better than when he's trying to pull the line off, like a Guinness line.
Yeah. It's a weird place. Like, there has to be a bit of yourself as an actor, and then also a bit of the callback, because you're playing something that's already established. So
like Chris Pine as Shatner, right? Like, he has a moment, but he's clearly Chris Pine in it.
Yeah, for sure.
it definitely, that'll be on the DVD box. Chris Pine's Pine.
And I like the comic books when it looks like the actors. I don't like it when I could see it's traced from a still I know very well. And I don't like it when all of a sudden now they don't have a reference photo for the angle that they want to draw from. And then it just looks like, who the hell is that? Like, I don't, it's like, if you can't do it consistently, then just don't do it at all.
My favorite Star Wars adaptation is the manga from the first film, not the other two, the first film.
Yeah.
It's so well drawn. And it looks nothing like the actors, but I have friends who can't get past the fact that it don't look like the actors. Really? They just can't deal with. I can't. I only see Luke. I'm like, Mark Hamill don't look like Mark Hamill from Star Wars to Empire. Like, you know, like, I mean, he does and doesn't. He's clearly a different. And let's be honest, that haircut in Jedi, no one's pulling that off. Like, like that came and went, man. Like, that haircut is so unique.
Yeah, no, it's like that little fucker from Small Wonder, the brother. I think he does it. That's it.
Small Wonder? It's a small wonder.
Yep. You see the robot?
I don't think we can do that anymore. We just open up something and they just have blinking lights and we know they're a robot.
Oh,
now.
that means they're a robot kid. Yeah.
It's Grogu will open up his chest. He's a robot Grogu.
Mark says, I'm hyped to see the new Hammerhead character in the Book of Boba Fett. The Ithorian Momo brothers are some of my fave characters from the KOTOR comics. Bit of that flavor in live action will be fire.
I love the Ithorians. I want Taika to be in charge of them.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I want to see like the classic characters like classic aliens like done really well. That's like one of the things I would like is for instance like when they brought back Nyan Num and then all of a sudden now he looks like way better than he did before. I like that. And like it would be cool, like I would be cool to see like a Rodian, a Greedo as I call him, a Greedo done really 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 well, like with like really really good like um prosthetics or whatever you call it, animatronic thingamajibs, whatever they're called. And
It's a technical term, don't you know?
that is the
It's
technical
a
term.
thingamajib. Yeah.
That is a-
Fabuloso.
when I haven't had enough sleep and I did some driving to go to the set today, that is where we end up.
It's a good time to drive. You
Mhm.
so that first film, those puppets were mostly made by British sculptors and stuff. Am I right on that?
Rick Baker did like a lot. Some of them were like reused. Like Greedo was like parts of Greedo were in like like some kind of soup commercial or something, or like a SpaghettiOs commercial or something weird like that.
Because
And
the eyes, like I always go back to that first film. There's
yeah,
always this like specular, like there's like a complexity of texture on the eyes on a lot of those aliens. Like you can kind of look into them and see layers that aren't there in the other films. They're
yeah,
very unique to that film.
yeah. I'm pretty sure that they were like it was like a almost like a kit bash kind of thing. I think John Molo drew a bunch or designed a bunch of them. I want to say too. And like when you see his drawings, it was like if I did them. They weren't like they were,
I miss that kind of concept art, bro.
yeah.
I always feel like, man, I'm in a wrong era because concept art these days is like it's like production and marketing stills, and then they
Yeah.
take your renders that you have to spend all this time on, and then they just do fuck all with them. And then you're like, that doesn't
Mhm.
look anything like what I rendered. And it's kind of a downside to the prequels where they kept rendering more realistic stuff with digital work. And
Mhm.
then you find that the best designs come when you kind of simplify everything down, actually, like,
Yeah.
and then allow the physical side of the production to translate those shapes and that iconic look into something with more texture. But when you try and do it in art and then you replicate that art on the screen, I don't like it. I don't think it works as well.
I kind of like when you see the Cantina concept art, which I wish if I know we were going to bring it up, I would have screenshotted it. But I like when they pull that in and then like you like look at it and then you see what they did. It's like they were like do something like this though. That's what's like kind of cool is like you get to kind of see how both people kind of improvised with
It's
the
improv. That's what I
idea.
was gonna say.
Yeah,
It's improv. You know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he says Twiki from Buck Rogers got the Jedi Luke haircut in metal, dude. You are right, man. That
Deep cuts.
yeah, yeah. Also, no, it's different though. But that's gonna say Sam, the little Southern white kid who they introduced on the different strokes in the last seasons. What the fuck
Yeah.
was that? But
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
he was like he had like the Luke Skywalker Return of the Jedi haircut if he was stranded on a desert island for like a year, like if it was like COVID times.
I used to tell my friends, it's not true, but I used to tell them he's the kid from Terminator 2 and Nickelodeon.
Yeah, no, he grew up to be cool, man. He was like let's go to the arcade on your motorcycle, John Connor.
They just
like,
kept growing the hair out, and he got the mullet. But that's the same
Yeah.
kid. I used to just lie and tell him. Yeah. I know it's a stupid thing to lie about. Why would you? Because you can believe it. You know?
Wait, no, I'm being totally serious right now. That's not the same kid.
No,
I totally thought that was the same kid. I swear.
No, it isn't. No, it's not.
Wow, I thought it was the same dude. I thought that
Right.
was like now he's a teenage actor.
Yeah, no.
Oh man,
I made that up.
I'm kind of bummed now, you liar.
Right? That's what I would do to people. Is I
lied to myself. Like I like literally believed that. No one told me. I just thought that.
Yeah, I'm getting banned now.
Yeah, I'm not going to put you into the Superman mirror thing yet. Not today. Star Wars Santa. Hey, how's it going, Star Wars Santa? Happy post birthday. It was fun doing your show the other day. It was really cool. It was lots of good conversations. If nobody's checked that out, make sure you do. He's really late trying to catch up now. Still 35 minutes behind. Oh, no worries, man. I do not expect you to watch these. You got a lot of stuff to do as Santa Claus. I get it. Mr. Tell, how's it going, dude? He says who was up above was chastising me for not seeing Buffy, by the way, which I might have skipped on accident. but yeah, I like I said, nothing against it. Just never got to it. It was just gone before, and I never had a chance to watch it. I'm not sure if it holds up in the right way. Like, would it still be good if I went to watch it today? I don't know, or if it's all nostalgia based. I have a friend who's like really big in music, and she like did a song about it and stuff. And then she was like, "You never watched it?" I'm like, "No." But I'm like, it doesn't really mean I can't judge your mix.
You
You know?
can't. I'm really against telling people you never saw it. Oh my god, you missed out. Like, man, dude, think about how many great films came out in Japan you've never seen from
Yeah.
the 50s through the 80s. How many films you've never, TV shows you've never even heard of, you know, and you never saw it, you missed out. You didn't see it, and you can never convince anyone to go back and watch it and see. Like, you're not going to convince anyone to do
Yeah.
that. So I always say, like, I loved it. I rewatch it. You know, I pretty much, I like the first season because it's smaller and super, like, they shot it like in 2 locations, and you can, in like an actual outside graveyard.
Mhm.
But you could skip the first season mostly and just jump to the second. And you know, I know Joss is problematic, but you know, it's not one dude who's making a whole series. So like,
Sure.
you know, we can all grow up there. But there's so much in those series that did get co-opted by every other series that came after. I mean, Smallville probably being the biggest of that. Like the CW stuff just tries to joss all those, it tries to Buffyize the tropes. Here's the big bad. Here's the group of people, and here's where they hang out afterward. And they do all that without actually providing the context that the original show did it in.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they just turned them into like save the cat formulas, like Mad Libbing scripts. You know. Like,
he says SMG played Tila in the Masters of the Universe now. Oh yeah, I planned on talking about that.
oh, you
I saw it
hold on.
Have you watched it yet?
Yes, I did. I watched all 5 episodes.
Should we talk about that tomorrow, you think?
Well, if do I need to put up the triggered sign?
If you want to,
folks.
let's actually hold off on that one because I want to. Okay. I want to refresh my memory of it. I saw it like 2 months ago now, so I want to like refresh my memory a little bit on it. Yeah. And then we're about to hit the 2-hour mark. So tomorrow we'll talk for sure. We'll talk about the Book of Boba Fett's story from the Ronin, about the director, and I think it's Dean. Was it Dean Kundi? I don't know if you say it Kundi or Kundi. I'm not sure.
The movie The Ronin with Robert De Niro?
No, the website.
Oh,
yeah.
It's like, wow, they're bringing that back.
Yeah,
I like that movie.
So we'll just talk a little bit about that, about that stuff. That's just like production stuff. I meant to get to it early in the show, and we just kind of went where it went. But yeah, I had a good time today talking to everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed the little look at the Kenobi set. That was, nothing major, but it was, it's something to look at, and something to think about and ponder. And we'll be back tomorrow, I believe, at 1 p.m., just like today. So if you guys want to come hang out with us in the chat, I would, dig it. And we will talk about Masters of the Universe for a little bit at one point, because Mark Hamill's in it. Sarah Michelle Gellar, who's also in Star Wars stuff, is in it. And I wouldn't mind kind of talking about it, because I think it's a very post Star Wars take in a lot of ways.
It literally was Conan with Star Wars. That's why instead of a lightsaber, you have a power sword. It's 100%. It's just they added Star Wars to Conan, they lost the license, and boom, you get He-Man. So 100%.
Yeah, and if you guys haven't watched it yet and want to binge watch it all tonight and then catch up for a discussion tomorrow, that's cool. Guess who has the power? He does. But we will so we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks to everybody for hanging out. Thanks to Rob for being an excellent co-host and letting me rant in his face like a monster man.
Thanks to me. Don't worry, I'll cut you off a few episodes from now, and you'll be like, "I'm never having you on."
Whenever you need to cut me off, just cut me off, because I don't shut up. Once I start going, man,
you go in the mirror. Hey, really quick before we go, I just want to mention your backdrop.
Yeah,
Annie Leibovitz. That's from the Vanity Fair episode 1 right? How great would it have been if her cinematography, which is very Roger Deakins-ish, had been the episode 1 cinematography. I think we'd be looking at those films literally, but just in contextualizing.
Yeah.
If the cinematography in episode 1 looked like those set photos, her photography did, I think we'd be talking about a completely different prequel trilogy. Just saying.
Yeah. That Roger Deakins look is pretty brilliant.
And that
maybe the
that
best.
Obi-Wan thing is amazing.
Yeah. Her photos were always so rad. I kind of hope that eventually she does enough of those behind the scenes things that down the road they're able just to make a book with the main photos and then all of the outtakes and the stuff like that of her Star Wars work would be so.
Well, if you're a
they
fan of
could.
her in general, she has a masterclass that's worth, just because it's an interview, basically.
Yeah.
Getting her 2 cents on it. It's pretty good.
Yeah. I'm gonna learn how to become a Vanity Fair photographer.
Yeah, just that's all.
I'll
watch Match Class. Job. Peace.
But we will see everyone tomorrow. Thanks to everyone for coming out. Peace.
It's not about spaceships. It's not about spaceships.